Hey everyone, so today I'm going to show you how to move the electronics from your official Nintendo Switch dock into an aftermarket dock replacement. This particular dock is called the Onyehn on Amazon, except it's actually the Aolion, which has a mildly annoying watermark on the dock. The replacement dock comes with all the hardware that you need in order to disassemble the Switch dock and move all the electronics into the new dock. The first thing that we need to do is disassemble the official Nintendo Switch dock. So you just start by popping open the dock, and then we have 8 screws here that you are going to have to remove, which should be fairly straightforward. I'll be skipping through most of the unscrewing throughout the video, but if you want to skip around more, I've included chapters down below. Once you've finished removing the screws, you can pop the top half of the dock off of the bottom half of the dock. It's attached with some plastic clips, so you might need to get a good grip and use a little bit of force, but it shouldn't be too bad to get off. Okay, so now we just have 2 more screws here before we move on to the PCB. So the first thing that we need to do on the PCB is remove the ribbon cable. The cable is locked into place with this clip here, and I just used the plastic tweezers that came with the replacement dock in order to unlock it, but you can use any hard flat object or maybe even your fingernails. Once you've unlocked the clip, the ribbon cable should just slide straight out. Underneath the PCB is the LED cable, which you need to unplug. This required a fair bit of force for me to get it out, but it should be totally fine. Now there are 7 more screws that you need to take out. 4 of them are underneath where the PCB was inside of these holes, and the other 3 are on the other side of the dock in the same locations. Once you have the screws out, the dock should just come right apart, and if it doesn't, then that means that you probably missed a screw somewhere. Now we are going to take out the USB-C assembly. You want to move the ribbon cable out of the way and then unscrew the 4 screws. When removing the assembly, there are a few different pieces that you will need to keep track of. There are these 2 springs here, and then there's a plastic piece that is sticking through the dock. Last for the disassembly is the LED. I found it easier to remove after popping off this plastic piece to give me a little bit more room, and then you can just pull it straight out with your fingers. Now it's time to put all of the electronics that we just removed from the official dock and put it into this smaller dock. I started by reattaching the ribbon cable. You just need to slide it into the base of the connector here and then lock it into place. Now we are going to do the LED. The actual LED is this piece on the PCB. You'll want to have that facing the opening on the dock. And then it's hard to see in the video, but we're basically going to slide the PCB through these tracks here. A lot of people have difficulty sliding the LED into the tracks, but I actually found a trick to help make it easier. You can basically add a hook into the cable like this and use that as a handle, which you can grab onto and gives you a lot of control when sliding the LED into the tracks. If you line up the PCB with the plastic tracks, you should be able to just slide the LED right into place with the handle, and then once you have it in the tracks, just give it a little push to make sure it's all the way in. And then it should look like this when it's finished with the LED facing the opening. Alright, so now we are going to start connecting the PCB. The first thing that we want to do is plug the LED back into the board. I actually am not going to do that because I don't like LEDs, so instead I'm just going to tuck the cable off to the side. When placing the PCB into the dock, you just need to make sure that the ports are aligned with the opening. So on one side you have two USB-As, and then the other side is HDMI, USB-A, and USB-C. When placing the PCB into the dock, you may need to apply a little bit of pressure to get it seated properly and evenly. Now you need to screw the PCB in with the 4 screws that came with the dock. The alignment of the screw holes was just okay for me, so I did have to move the PCB around a little bit and hold it into place in order to get the screws in properly. Now we need to attach the USB-C connector, which is the 3 pieces that you see here. On this plastic piece, you'll see that there's this notch, and we're going to need to line the notch up with the notch on the dock. So you'll want to go ahead and take the springs and put them into the holes on this plastic connector, and then we can place that into the dock. Now you need to put the actual USB-C port into the plastic connector with the springs. The orientation for this is a little bit weird, but I just kind of flipped the USB-C connector upside down, and then the ribbon cable was on top and out of the way. Then once you align it with the springs, you can just kind of move the ribbon cable back so that it's out of the way, and then screw in the 4 screws into the USB-C assembly. You will need to hold the USB-C assembly in place while you're screwing in the screws. The spring assembly isn't the smoothest, but it does work, sort of. Last, we just need to put the bottom of the dock onto the top of the dock. So you'll just want to flatten the ribbon cable and then place the bottom on top, and it snaps into place with these plastic clips. And then you will also probably need to use a decent bit of force in order to get the bottom fully attached to the top. So here you have the fully assembled replacement dock, which in my opinion is a huge improvement over the official dock. The dock itself is relatively stable side to side, but can be a little wobbly if you shake it. Even with the wobble though, the connection is still very solid and works well. The spring assembly on the other hand does not work as well. You cannot remove the dock with one hand, but it is pretty easy to get on and off with 2 hands. And that's pretty much it. I hope this video helped you, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment them below.